Hi, I'm Callie from Coding with Callie, and I am building a website builder. By day, I'm a site reliability engineer at HashiCorp, and at night, I am working on my full stack development skills with this project. In today's video, we are going to look at authentication on the front end with a custom React hook. Let's take a look. So when we load our website here, you can see that we get this guest is logged in, and there's no profile picture in the top right corner. That's because there's no one logged in to the website. Let's take a look then what would happen if we do log in. So on my other screen, I am getting a JWT from Postman, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it in a cookie. Like so. And then I'm going to reload the page. And now you can see that my profile picture shows up and it says Callie Stosecup is logged in. Now, if you're wondering what's happening on the back end, look at some of my other videos because I walk through how I work out the authentication of my API. This video is just going to focus on what's going on the front end. But let's take a look. So when I load my app, all right, I'm going to use my custom hook useUser. And that returns two variables, loading and user. User is going to be either the user that's logged in or a default guest user. All right. Loading is going to be a Boolean value. If it's true, then we're going to return a spinner instead of this Callie Stosecup is logged in, and the header and the footer. If it's false, then we will return our application. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, my API request is pretty quick, so we don't really see the loading. You can kind of see it flash real quick there, but it's there. Now, let's dig in to the actual useUser hook. In the useUser hook, this is a custom hook. So similar to in React, how you could use useState or useEffect, which we use both in this. Making your own custom hook is a way to abstract and not duplicate logic all over the place. So I want my app function to be super readable. So I'm going to take out this useUser logic so that way it's separate, and eventually I can probably alter it to make more endpoints available. Let's take a look. We have a state for loading, which default value is true, and a state for user, which default value is guest user. If you want to take a look, guest user just has role of guest. Then, as soon as this hook loads, the useEffect is triggered. And we know that because the array is empty at the end, and that means it's just triggered automatically. So we don't actually need to make an API call to the back end if there's no JWT in the cookie, right? If there's no JWT, there's no need to make a API call because we're obviously a guest. So all we need to do then is set loading as false and return. Next, if there is a cookie in the JWT, or if there is a cookie with a JWT in it, then we actually want to call the API to fetch the user details. The API endpoint is going to return one of two things. It's either going to return a real user that I got from the database, or it's going to return a guest user. And this is all depending on the validity of the JW cookie. So we use our Axios private instance, which I'll go over a little bit more, but it's just a way to abstract Axios call. You can create your own custom instance. This one is going to be our private one, so it always includes credentials, and it always includes the base path auth. We're going to get user details, and then when we get the response, we're going to set the user with the response. So that'll be guest or the real user. Now, we will catch errors It's not going to error if the user doesn't exist though, because it will return guest. But if this fails for any reason, our API is down, might as well cancel the error so that way we can see what's going on. And then finally, this statement goes off regardless. So after then or catch, that's an either or, right? If we get the response, we do this. If we get an error, we do this. Finally happens regardless. If we get an error or a response, finally we're going to do this. We're going to set loading as false. That's going to happen in our use effect. Then our hook is going to return those two states, loading and user. So at first, loading and user are going to be true and guest, and this will load. Then when the request is done making, it's going to be false and either guest or the actual user. And that is how we created a custom hook with React and used it to get our user details. Thanks for watching.